Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Josh Taylor, Gene Collier here taking your phone calls, 412-575-2600 on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Also taking your tweets at Josh Taylor HD. Gene, we have a football question to start out here on Twitter. Robert wants to know what is the Steelers' reply, or what the Steelers should reply? I don't know. That's a weirdly worded question. But basically, what is the Steelers' reply to Jalen Ramsey's comments about Ben Roethlisberger and several other NFL quarterbacks as well? I don't know if you actually heard those comments.
I heard some of the comments. I mean, if I were the Steelers, I would not reply at all, and I would advise them not to reply at all. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but there were a lot of stupid opinions that were expressed in that.
I think it's a fair way to put it. And honestly, if you want to look at it from both sides of the coin, I think a fair response is to not respond. And I also think another way of looking at it is, they also beat the Steelers twice and got 7 interceptions out of the opposing quarterback. Mm-hmm. So you might have earned the ability to peacock a bit. Does it make it plausible to say something like that? Absolutely not. But both times they met, they won and got quite a few turnovers out of them.
He has every right to say it.
So he has every right to say it because, hey, he won the 2 games.
This is America.
That too. Perfectly well within his right to say something, whether it makes sense or not. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Jeff in Latrobe. Jeff, you're in the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Josh. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, guys, I just wanted to, make an observation here. Obviously, we know that the Pirates are, Clint Hurdle and management, they're pretty free and easy with the rotation, adjusting it, based on altitude and which way the wind blows. But so you had Archer, obviously, who the Pirates had invested in a lot as far as PR in the future, pitching a Wednesday game in Minnesota in the American League against a game that really means nothing. Why would you not maybe think about pushing him back to Thursday, against, coming back after a 10-game homestand on a Thursday night against John Lester, and putting those 2 guys together and maybe selling some tickets and see where that thing goes, I don't know, just there, guys.
Because I don't think it matters. And the last time they pushed the pitchers back, everybody hated it. That's the best answer I have. We just saw them push everybody back a day. The 3 guys that pitched in Colorado. Remember that whole story? When they pushed Musgrove and Archer and Tyone back a day because they all pitched in Colorado? The last time they did that, everyone hated it, myself included. Now you want them to do it again. Who would you replace them with? Who are you going to start to push them back for? You're going to bring Clay Holmes back up after the first time it didn't work? You're going to bring Nick Kingham back up to do that? The last time they just tried to do this, it was a disaster. So you want them to do it again, is what I'm hearing, after everybody hated when they did it the first time. Gene?
I had the same thought as the caller until I saw Archer pitch today. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, the Cubs, who don't need any help, are going to miss Chris Archer, who is ostensibly, your best guy in the rotation.
At least in terms of pedigree. In terms of recent performance, it might be Trevor Williams.
But he's not, so it didn't matter. I mean,
right.
but I agree with that notion that if you have a big series at home and you've just made this big trade, maybe you do something to move it back. But as Josh said, I mean, they've tried that and they really screwed it up. So
and my thing is, and I'll stick to this. And I know a lot of people. There are so many people that are on one side or other and just screaming loudly at each other, so it just turns into a bunch of clicking noises. But here's what I'll tell you. The one problem I had with it, not was the fact that they decided that they wanted to do it or even the rationale behind it. It wasn't that they moved Archer and Musgrove off of a start. You also moved Trevor Williams, who was your hottest pitcher in the month of July going into August, and did not pitch in Colorado. His last start was in Pittsburgh. Right. Moving him back was the part I didn't like. If you would have done it Saturday instead of Friday and let Trevor Williams pitch Friday, it would have made perfect sense to me, considering the fact that Trevor Williams has been pretty good throughout the entire month of August, starting the last 5 starts. He has one of the best ERAs in baseball, not just the National League, in baseball. That I had a problem with. Everything else, I could probably at least discuss or hear both sides of the argument.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very valid point. But another very valid point, I think, on the opposite side of it is, had all those pitchers won, they'd have been geniuses.
That too. That's a good way of looking at it, because and another thing you can also make the best of it, all 3 had really good performances between Musgrove, Tyone, and Archer. All 3 pitched relatively well given the circumstances. I mentioned this, I believe it was Saturday morning on Bucko Talk Saturdays, 9 to 11, 93.7 The Fan.
Yeah, I never miss it.
I appreciate that. I talked about how they pitched 3 games in Coors Field and allowed a grand total of 7 runs, which hardly ever happens. Ever. That's hard to do when you have that kind of run with your starting pitching.
Kind of surprised themselves with that. That played into it, too.
I think that surprised everybody with that. I think it's a good way of putting it. Let's go back to the phone lines. We got John in Pittsburgh. John, you're on the Nightly Sports Call. Hello, hello, John.
Yes, hello, I'm here. I believe Joshua Dobbs has the talent and the ability to take on that second string position. The guy is very mobile. He knows how to add to the game under pressure. Even when he threw an interception, he came back, threw downfield, moved downfield, and scored then. I mean, Landry Jones, he's been there. He's got experience. But I've seen Landry Jones throw a lot of interceptions in preseason. I know he's got some regular season experience, but the guy's not always in there to have that position. Josh Dobbs not always in there. Hasn't been in a regular season to have that chance. And I believe we have a better chance of winning with Josh Dobbs there.
Because? That was a question.
Yes.
Why do you think they have a better chance with Josh Dobbs?
He's more mobile. He's more athletic, and he seems to be making smarter choices when it comes to under pressure.
There's a couple other guys you could probably make that case for, but I understand. I understand and appreciate the call. Here's where I'll differ with this, and this is nothing against Josh Dobbs. I tend to like Josh Dobbs. I like his pedigree. I liked him in Tennessee. I thought he was a pretty good quarterback then, and I'm really impressed with him as a person. But here's the thing it comes down to. The NFL is a quarterback league, and if you have a quarterback in the present, you're already in good shape. If you have a short-term plan, if something happens to said quarterback, you're in even better shape. But if you have a long-term plan, you're probably ahead of the curve, probably ahead of maybe 27 or 28 teams in the league. That's the position that the Steelers are in. I think the fact that Josh Dobbs is the odd man out, and Gene, feel free to disagree with me if you have to. I don't think it's a knock at Josh Dobbs. I think it's just the fact that the Steelers have been fortunate enough to be in that position. But I'm curious to how you feel about this.
Yeah, as I said, what I've seen of Josh Dobbs, I like fine. I mean, he's only been in exhibition games, and he's made some mistakes, but he's thrown some good balls too. You know, he's going to be a victim of the numbers game. I don't agree with the caller if the caller was suggesting that they have a better chance to win a game with Josh Dobbs than they do.
And I don't agree with that either.
With Landry Jones, they do not. He's never been in a real game. But yeah, does he have skills that are equal to Landry Jones? Possibly, but what he doesn't have is that experience of being in games and winning games.
And sometimes experience is all you need.
Sure, and NFL coaches, are loath to put in anybody without experience, especially at that position. Especially
if they're not high pedigree guys, too, which is also a thing, which is pretty much puts Mason Rudolph slightly ahead of the curve as well. Got to take another break. We'll be back here in just a few moments. Stick around.